2021. I'd like to call the School District of Tomahawk Board meeting to order. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, welcome everyone. Colleen, would you do a roll call, please?
Haveman, Hughesby,
Here.
Johnson, Kirsch,
Here.
Kissinger Wolf,
Here.
Long,
Here.
Rudai,
Here.
Baloo,
Here.
Zimmerman.
Here.
We have a quorum, 7 to 9 members present. Moving on to make a motion for the adoption of the agenda as presented.
Long so move.
Baloo, second. Motion's been made by Long, seconded by Baloo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Moving on to item 6, public comment. We have this time set aside. We have 15 minutes set aside for 3-minute presentations. We have one person signed up, Sarah Miller. If you could come forward, introduce yourself.
I do have this, do you mind if I? Thank you. Thank you. My name is Sarah Miller. I've given you each a copy of what I'm going to speak on tonight. The first page is a memo sent out by Mr. Ennis on October 29th, 2021. In this memo, it states the school district returned to normal sick leave for illness-related absences this school year. It goes on to say that they have not allowed teachers to teach virtually from home when their class is quarantined by an order of the Lincoln County Health Department and CDC guidelines. I tried to get a copy of that order. I sent an email to all of you. I have not heard a response yet about that order from the Lincoln County Health Department. I did contact Lincoln County Health Department and have also not received a response yet. I have asked, so as far as the CDC guidelines, they actually say that employers should allow employees to work from home when possible. If you look at the next document, it refers to that current normal sick leave use policy on page 16 from the employee handbook. This policy, or the sick leave policy that Reynolds was referring to in his email, sick leave will be paid for any absence from work due to the following: A, personal injury or illness; B, illness or injury or illness of an employee's child under 18; C, serious health condition of an immediate family member; or D, medical or dental appointment. I don't see anything about being in close contact or about virtual teaching in this policy. The next page is the current policy as it relates to virtual teaching that the district was not following at the beginning of the year and should have been. It states, employees who are told that they have a medium to high risk exposure shall not physically report to work for 14 days, during which time they should monitor for symptoms and/or fever. Employees must immediately notify their supervisor and make arrangements to continue to work from home. So it is clear from these documents that you owe these teachers back their sick days. Are you aware that one of these teachers was sent home? She was allowed to teach 2 days that she was quarantined from home. So you let one teacher teach a couple days from home and none of the others. I'm speaking today because I do care about this district. It is very important to me. What is happening right now to these teachers in this school is a travesty. We are asking you to shift your thinking from an us versus them mentality to we are in this together. We want to know that you support us. These teachers deserve their sick days back.
Is there any other public comment?
Good evening, Mandy Street, Tomahawk. I'm here tonight to bring attention to not just some, but all of our teachers here in the Tomahawk School District. We are blessed to have a building filled with a really amazing teaching staff. They are passionate in the work they do with our children, persevering through some really tough times. And they're still here with us, still working with our children, being fair and delivering an uncompromised education to our children, and they are even better teachers for overcoming those tough times. It is of utmost importance to me that our teachers know how appreciated and valued they are. In a peer-reviewed publication by the RAND Corporation this past June, job-related stress was studied and proven to be threatening the teacher supply. This study cites that prior to 2020, 1 in 6 teachers would leave the field, but today that number is up to 1 in 4 teachers leaving the field. We as a community, and you as board members, and the school's administration needs to pay close attention to these numbers, and not just pay attention to these numbers, but act on what the reality of the study is telling us. It tells me that we can and should be doing better for our educators. The Wausau School District has already recognized this and is taking action with the recent proposal to distribute approximately $1 million worth of stipends to all district staff as a thank you, a way to recognize them for all of the extra work they're putting in, commending their staff for going above and beyond every single day. Meanwhile, the Tomahawk School District has managed to implement a bogus policy that threatened and robbed teachers of their sick time, forcing them to waste sick time and denying them the ability to virtually teach. Thank you for the reversal of this policy and reverting back to a non-discriminatory policy, but this issue is not resolved. We've got teachers in this school right now with 0 sick time left in their bank as a result of this policy having been in place and no obvious effort being made to quote-unquote refund their sick time that this district essentially stole from them. They weren't sick. They were willing to teach. They were denied and forced to use this time and temporarily replaced with substitutes. So what's the incentive for those affected to admit that they don't feel well themselves now and stay home? They don't have any sick time to fall back on. Instead, here we are in Tomahawk yet again debating over another issue where administration is dropping the ball. And at what cost? The cost of our teachers. Meanwhile, the Wausau School District is trying to distribute $1 million to their staff to say thank you. And all we're asking for is our teachers to get their sick time back. Morale matters. If we're going to keep great teachers in this district, it's time to put on a pause on worrying about numbers associated with the referendum and start looking more seriously at the numbers, like 1 out of 6 and 1 out of 4. A referendum isn't going to much matter if our educators continue to be treated this way. We're not going to have staff left to help us as parents do what we don't always excel in. We need our teachers. Our teachers need to see you working and balancing agendas appropriately that enhance the morale in this building, righting the wrongs and showing them how valuable they are. I expect to see all of the affected teachers' sick time promptly refunded into their sick banks, and I want to stop seeing our administration dropping the ball in such profound ways.
Is there anyone else for public comment?
Marguerite Liskow. I would just want to suggest perhaps something that would make things easier is if there was a committee set up for parent concerns. You guys are really quick to jump on the referendum committee and set that up for right now, but perhaps it would work in tandem and maybe make things a little bit smoother for everybody if there was a parent committee set up from the board so we can actually have some discussion back and forth with the problems. It's just a suggestion because I think it's starting to get a little bit heated and a little bit the frustration is coming back because we know that you can't talk to us. It doesn't get put on the agenda, the things that we bring up. And so maybe the back and forth, and so we would feel like things were kind of being handled, so we can get some of this figured out. Just a suggestion. Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else?
Nicole Hansey, and I'm a resident alumni and also a healthcare practitioner in the town. And I've been really, really struggling with not wanting to come up here and be very angry at a lot of things that are happening. But I find it interesting that at the bottom of this agenda it says, the school district of Tomahawk does not discriminate on the basis of sex, race, age, color, national origin, ancestry, creed, religion, pregnancy, marital or parental status, sexual orientation, physical, mental, emotional, or learning disabilities. Now, in the past couple weeks, I've been abreast as a healthcare practitioner because some of these students in the school are my clients. And on October 28th, there was a vaccinated, and I hate to put that label, but I'm going to use it because you guys have forced me to use it, student that got sick and therefore caused a bunch of students to be taken out of school because of close contact. Now, there was also
Ignore that, sorry.
there was also a student on November 1st that supposedly got sick with COVID. I'm not sure, vaccinated, not vaccinated, I don't really care. And there was a student yesterday at 2 p.m. that was removed from the school because she was in close contact with this child 8 days ago. So tell me how this COVID mitigation policy is working if this child and a bunch of other children were in the presence of this child or in the district for 7 days and now she's taken out. And because she has a medical exemption for masks, she has to sit for 14 days starting today. There's something wrong if we're putting labels and not treating people equally. And it says it in the handbook, it says it on everything you have, and yet you've divided people between vaccinated and unvaccinated. I'm sorry, but you're discriminating, you're segregating, and it's sad because people in our profession in healthcare aren't allowed to do that up there. But yet you're doing it here at the school district, and we teach our kids not to bully and discriminate. So, just food for thought, and I agree with Marguerite, we need a committee because that referendum's not gonna pass in this situation right now. And I love this school. My kids have had great educations, I've had great educations here, but what's happening lately, it's not gonna get pushed through, I'm sorry to say. It's just honesty.
Okay, this will be the last one. We have the 15 minutes.
Regan Kovacic. I remember when John F. Kennedy was assassinated. I remember when Martin Luther King was assassinated. Are we repeating history? I don't think so. We don't want that. Not anymore. We're a free country. We are Americans. Not our ancestry, not black, white, Native American. We are American.
Okay, we're going to move on. Thank you for your public comments. We're moving on to item 7, the consent agenda items, which were presented. Listed on the agenda, the approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of October 26th and the closed meeting on October 26th, approval of the invoices from October 13th to November 9th, employee contract adjustments, which include above pay and resignations. Looking for a motion?
Rudai, I so move.
A second?
Long second.
Motion's been made by Rudai, seconded by Long. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. On to item 8, consideration, and we will make some motions for proposals for the following referendum work, Quarles and Brady, scope of engagement. Joe?
Yeah, this is something the district needs to do. Quarles and Brady is a firm that works extensively in Wisconsin in regard to resolutions for referendums, so meeting the legal requirements. Also for, reviewing the ballot, make sure the language on the ballot is correct, make sure the publications are in time and that sort of thing. And so the recommendation is that the board hire Quarles and Brady for that purpose.
Discussion? Questions from the board? Okay. Then we're looking for a motion to approve Quarles and Brady for the scope of the engagement.
Hughesby, so move.
In a second.
Zimmerman, I'll second.
Motion's been made by Hughesby, seconded by Zimmerman. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. On to item 8B, planning and communication for a firm proposal for the referendum.
Okay, this is a recommendation that's coming from the planning committee. And the planning committee discussed communication and planning for the referendum. There were 3 different firms that were interviewed via Zoom for this purpose. And the recommendation of the committee is that a company called Donovan Group be hired for this purpose. The district also employed a firm for the previous referendum, but this would be a different firm that would work with the district at this time.
Is there any discussion on this?
I have no questions.
No,
I think it's pretty clear.
okay. So the motion, we need to make, somebody to make a motion from the committee?
I so move.
Let's make a motion.
Oh, I'm
State-
sorry,
Say the motion, please.
I move that we hire Donovan Group for a referendum process.
Okay, there's a motion to hire the firm of Donovan for the referendum for 2022.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion's been made by Baloo, seconded by Kirsch.
I just want to make a comment.
Go ahead.
Okay, so just FYI, just to keep public informed, we met earlier today, the referendum committee, just to hear proposals from a couple different firms. And I think that we thought that this firm kind of had a lot of the tools that I think are going to make it really useful for us to have some effective communication for this meeting, or for this referendum this time around. So, you know, we had a couple of the firms with outstanding candidates, but we feel like this firm probably has the resources available to really help us get this through. So that's why, as a committee anyway, we're kind of recommending going with this firm. So that's my only comment.
Okay. And the information was attached, and most of the board was at that meeting, or 5 of the members were there. So motion's been made by Baloo, seconded by, I forgot. Shar. Okay, Kirsch. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, we'll move on. Joe, if you want to, or will you be making the contact?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Item 9, staff reports. Looks like Guy will be first. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna go first tonight. I just gave a couple of the dates that are coming up. We're quickly approaching our trimester, the end of our first trimester, so we'll be getting grading reports out soon. When I wrote this, we were in the process of scheduling conferences, but we should be in the midst of our parent-teacher conferences. I know I sat in on one tonight, so that's happening. I gave some dates and times for our Christmas programs. And then I just mentioned some student council news. Mrs. Barker is again our advisor for student council at the elementary. She does some great things with the kids. They had their Mad Hatter Day, and I put, and this is supports children battling childhood cancer. They raised $369.58. And then I included some information on, they do a Never Forgotten Flight fundraiser. They did a nickel war, and they raised $2,022.64. So we're pretty proud of that.
Awesome.
And I know that Mr. Quisenberry is going to give some more details on that. So that's what I have for you tonight.
Okay, thank you, Guy. Anybody have questions of Guy? Very nice. So that means at least 4 veterans, I believe, can go on
Yeah,
the flag.
we were pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, as Mr. Seckbauer just announced, I'll just start out with highlighting some of the Veterans Day Assembly planning and work. We're happy to report that we can have that assembly in person this year. So we've been working with our area veterans organizations and representatives. We have a planning committee that meets starting in late September, early October, and plans our assembly. So a big part of that is emceed through student council members, and there's a lot of participation through students. Our high school band and concert choir all perform. And one of the things that will be unique this year, like Mr. Seckler was saying, is we did have fundraisers in both the middle school and the elementary school, both contributing to Never Forgotten Honor Flight. And I want to recognize not only the work of our student council members in organizing this, but also in the advisors. Peg McKenzie and Tammy Hall organized a fundraiser in our building. We raised just over $600 that will go along with the $2,000 raised in the elementary. And we were able to sponsor actually 5 local individuals that will be going on the honor flight. So that's Megan Barker, who coordinated with the elementary, will be on hand that day, and she actually worked with the Never Forgotten Honor Flight organization to find candidates and reached out to them and invited them to the assembly on Thursday, where we will recognize them and also present them with their token boarding pass. So they've all been invited and have agreed to attend, so I'm looking forward to that. Plus, it'll be nice too. It's always a great opportunity for our students to interact with our veterans organizations, to see the presentation, retirement of colors, and see how important that is. And we always end up with a lot of great questions and conversations afterwards. We do an essay contest that this year will be 6th and 7th grade. They announce the winners, and those individuals get to read their essays. So it's a nice event. It would be nice to host that once again. In addition to that, I just wanted to recognize Mr. Marin and Mr. Colburn on their efforts with the fall band concerts this year. And once again, we were able to do those in person, and we had this auditorium pretty well filled on both nights. So always congratulate them and thank them for their efforts and work to get 6th and 7th grade students, especially coming out of the disruptions we've had over the past few years, ready to perform, and I thought they did a wonderful job. So parent-teacher conferences are going on this week, virtually and in person. We try to be as flexible as we can in this day and age with those. So as of right now, talking with our staff, we've had a lot of people reach out, a lot of them scheduled. So pretty good mixture, but some have been in person, but I would say more so virtual formats or via phone calls. And then, as always, I included the link to our November edition of the Hatchet Highlights, and also our school calendar, and then some participation numbers for our fall sports program that recently came to a close. That is all I have tonight.
Any questions? Wendell? Looks like
I don't have questions, but I'm just very impressed with reaching out to the veterans. And, you know, studies have proven that kids that connect with older people, veterans, not just older people, but veterans too, it's a very positive experience. So I applaud the student council, the advisors, and the kids for doing that. I think it's awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Wendell.
You can see by the high school board report, some of these things are common types of events, and I'll get to some of those as we go through it. But the first I wanted to recognize was the first item on the report dealing with our personal finance class. And that's one thing I wanted to mention is that I can't give you the exact date just because I didn't look it up, but I can feel pretty comfortable that Tomahawk has had that graduation requirement where students must pass a personal finance course. I think it's a fair statement to say at least 12 years. And that is far beyond or far ahead of where many of our districts in the state have been with having that value upon students being successful financially when they leave our walls and go out into life. And so Some of the things that we're seeing right here is Mr. Nye is our current teacher who's in charge of our personal finance courses, and you can see that through the Next Gen Personal Finance organization, we were recognized as having the gold standard because it is a course for us, as well as a required graduation course. And he just continuously talks about how he's improving this class and how he wants to make the learning relevant for students so that they can be successful just in life, dealing with their finances and setting them up for their goals that they have in the future. So I wanted to highlight that and bring that to your attention. Some of the other things as you look throughout the report are getting back to what I mentioned before, dealing with ongoing activities. And what I really want to help the board understand is, you know, when you look at all of our grade levels, but specifically in the high school, it's a busy time for all of our students. And there's a lot of different things that students can take advantage of to meet their academic and career planning goals. And so some of these activities are once a year activities, and others happen multiple times throughout the course of a school year because student plans change based on a job that they now took and have a new passion or a course that they take in high school. So it's really great that some of our partners, for example, Nicolet, has multiple opportunities for us to get large numbers and small numbers of students on campus working with their different teachers and seeing the different programs and connecting with the business partners that will show up at those events. And then you can see other events, for example, like the construction expo, that we had a smaller number of students attend, but have shown a lot of academic and career planning interest in those areas where they can go and work directly with those types of various businesses that are involved in the construction industry and learn more about future careers and starting to connect those dots with the coursework they're taking right now in high school and what they're going to need to be doing to prepare themselves for those types of careers. So as you look throughout the report, you can see there's a lot of events like that, and I'll continue to report on those throughout the course of the school year, just to help the board understand how we're making that connection with our daily ongoing activities and how that meets our large district scale goals of the strategic plan. And the great thing is a lot of these things are now becoming the norm. They're no longer things that are extra, it's just what we do. And that's really neat to see for our students. That they have access to those regular ongoing types of opportunities. Questions?
Thanks, Brian. I like the format that you put it in too. Very nice. Okay.
So I started out my board report with the Caleb Campbell presentation. We followed up the beginning of the school year teacher in service activity from J.C. Pole Organization for Teen Truth. We're focusing on student mental health and emotional well-being, and we had a presentation for the high school students and then the middle school students from Caleb Campbell. I attached his bio in there. He's a former NFL player, specializes in mental health, and worked with students all over the country. And we had 70 students then from 6th grade through 12th grade. We had 10 students from each grade get together in a student summit afterwards, and then we had those students work together in groups to identify challenges that they see from a student perspective for them at school, and then they came up with solutions as well. So then now we're taking those back to our district PBIS teams so that we can come up, look at those solutions and implement the viable ones, and then we'll bring the students back together and discuss with them how they see those being implemented and the success of that. We also had a paraprofessional training to continue building staff capacity and working with students and understanding student needs and how to work with the teachers that they support. And then Julie and I have been working with a district-wide team on our MLSS system to tie together our academic interventions and our behavioral interventions and make that a systemic approach so teachers know how to get help, where to get it from, and then have distinctive processes for them to follow. So they're not wondering where do I find the information.
Okay. Thanks, Wendy. I take it that program, the Teen Truth, will go through the year then? It'll be...
Well, the presenters are done coming, but then now we work with our building level PBIS teams then to bring back those solutions, bring those kids back in and continue that work at implementing solutions that they came up with rather than just adults telling them what they should be doing, getting their perspective on what they do.
Okay. Julie.
Our teaching and learning office has been quite busy, as you can expect, in the fall.
getting everyone up and running. And in October and later in September, we really focused a lot of our attention and work on data analysis because we really wanted to get a really strong sense of where our students were at academically. So we did our fall assessments all the way from 4K up through grade 12 to get a handle on where kids were at in terms of their reading and math skills. And I was so pleased in the work that our teachers put forth in looking at that data and then triangulating that data with formative assessments, meaning the day-to-day work that students were turning in, and really looking at past year data to really get a good understanding of where students were at, because then we could use that data to help guide our instruction. So it was really fun. I worked with Guy, Wendell, Ryan, Stacy through all 3 buildings, meeting with different grade level teams, departments, just to help them understand how to look at that data and really take some meaningful work from it rather than just giving kids assessments and not doing anything with it. So that was really a great process, and that we will continue that work again in end of January when we do our winter assessments. The other piece that we worked on that we really wanted to tie together was that data work along with our PD day that we had in the end of October. And again, all 3 buildings worked really hard to take information that they were really focused in on. So for at the elementary level, we have been doing a lot of work with literacy. So everyone in the elementary worked on various pieces of literacy, even our specialists. So we were working with even our music teacher, our PE teacher on how to integrate literacy into their content. At the middle level, we worked a lot with their win time, so the what I need time with students. So Wendell and I worked with teachers to help them really navigate the waters of how they could use that time effectively to help meet the needs of kids. And then at the high school, we continued our curriculum work with helping teachers understand how to really collect meaningful data and really develop some good success criteria to really measure standards to see where the kids were at. So we've been busy, but it's been wonderful work, and we're moving forward. And now, as we move into the months of November, December, and January, we're really building our systems for all the assessments that we do. We start with our access to testing for our English language students in December, and then we start rolling in and starting to get ready for the forward and the ACT. So we want to make sure we're being really proactive in having those systems in place, so when those assessment days come, they really roll really nicely into our regular day with really helping our students do as well as they can.
Okay. I imagine we'll hear some reports down the road. Reports on that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Julie. Stacy, did you have anything? Oh.
What I was gonna say was what these 2 reported on for the high schools. I don't wanna steal their thunder.
Oh, okay. And they see Scott back there. Did you have anything, Scott?
Sure. Can you hear me from back here?
Dick, can you hear?
I'll go talk to the mic. All right. Thank you. So we are, I will say we are not at the end of our fall sports. We still have a girl, Paige DeKeep, who's going to state in girls swimming on Friday down in Waukesha South. So that will then conclude our fall sports. We started this week with girls basketball and hockey, and then we will start next week with basketball for the boys and wrestling. And what am I forgetting? Boys swimming. And we will start with that next week. Pool is continuing to go. Next week we will start our first aqua aerobics or aqua zumba or whatever you want to call that class at 9 o'clock on Thursday morning. No, I'm wrong. It's 9 o'clock Tuesday morning. And then my sense is that, like everything else that we've done, we're going to kind of expand that as we go. But it's starting point, and we've got a lot of people interested, so that is all good. And we have our swimming club, which is in the pool 3 afternoons a week right after school. They're there on Sundays, they're there a couple mornings, so a lot going in there as well. So, a lot going on.
So lifeguards are back on par? You've got them all?
Well, the 4 of them that took a lifeguarding class are all girl swimmers, so they're going to come on board shortly. But I do have a couple people that have been working, and it's worked out pretty well. So it's nice to be able to have the option of somebody that is reliable and able to do the mornings, especially if we're going to do the aqua aerobics at 9 in the morning. It's not going to
not gonna be a student doing it for sure. So, yeah, we're making some progress.
Okay,
Great.
thanks, Scott.
All right.
Joe?
Okay, I would just have a couple things. First of all, what was it, about 3 years ago or so, the district engaged in a strategic planning process.
2019, yeah.
And when was it?
2019,
2019, okay.
right, Ron?
I think so.
Anyway,
I think so.
looking through some of the material and that sort of thing and seeing what's on the website, I mean, it was a very, involved process and one that included a lot of people in the community, which is a great thing. And as part of that process, those involved and ultimately the board approved it, I believe. This is, what came out of there is, okay, this is what we want the Tomahawk schools to be. These are the pillars that, as it was described in the strategic plan, which described, okay, what are the main focal points of the Tomahawk School District going forward. So that is on the website and explained to some degree. But I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that there's been kind of a lull in pursuing that further, maybe over the last year or so. I had a conversation with Brad Sarin. I've known Brad for years. He's a superintendent at Sun Prairie, and he was the one that came up and facilitated that process here. And he is willing to come back at any time at the district's request to kind of, reignite that process. And not that it has to happen immediately because there's transition going on here and things like that, but I think there's a really good basis, laid for what, like I said, what people decided what the district wants to be in the future. And certainly the district wants to look at, bringing him back at some point and redoing that process. As you make the transition to a new superintendent, I think there's a real good base there, to start with in terms of pursuing that further. So I just want you to know that he is willing to come back, excited about potentially coming back, and we'll have to decide at what point, that takes place to continue that process. A lot of work has been done, but there's also a lot of work yet to be done in that regard. Also, what we'll be working very extensively on over the next 4 to 6 weeks is the school district budget for the 22-23 school year. And as we all know, I believe I mentioned at the last meeting, based upon the current budget for 21-22, the district is right now $1.8 million in the deficit. So again, assuming the budget turns out as planned right now for this year, the district would be down $1.8 million. So looking at the the budget for next year, it's going to be a very difficult thing to look at because we always talk about budget, we talk about numbers, and if nothing changes, there's definitely going to have to be some additional cuts. I've only been here for like 9 weeks, but I've been working with this budget and every school budgets for the last almost 40 years. So it doesn't take long for me to recognize that this is going to be very difficult. And we talk about budgets, but really what we're talking about is programs for kids. Because we can talk about $500,000, $1 million, $200,000, whatever it is, but from here on out, and it was true last year too, to a certain degree, but every year it gets more difficult. Really what we're talking about programs for kids. And so that's why it's really going to be important as we look at this and plan for a referendum. Is the district going to possibly restore the money that was there 2 years ago and 3 years prior to that? Or are we going to have to make additional cuts? And additional cuts means less programs for kids, perhaps larger class sizes, perhaps less electives. And in 2022-23, I personally don't think, and I know so many people agree with that, that's not in the best interest of the students for sure. It's not in the best interest of the Tomahawk School District. So anyway, we're gonna start looking at that. We'll bring a lot more information forward, obviously, but it's gonna be a very difficult thing, going forward, unless hopefully that those funds in regard to the referendum can be restored. So that's our task for the next few weeks,
Did you
On
want
top
to,
of everything else.
on top of everything else, yes.
Thank
did
you.
you by chance want to mention the community focus groups? Before, oh, that's the superintendent search.
Yeah.
But, okay, so those here knew about it, that's always.
Well, I could just bring it up quick. There is gonna be a focus group, I think it's the 16th.
The 16th at 6 PM in the middle school cafeteria.
Yeah, in regard to the superintendent search, so if anyone wants input into that also, obviously there's a survey on the website. So if anybody wants input into that search, that's available there too. But there is going to be ample opportunity for resident, participation in that process, so.
Tuesday is live at 6 PM in the middle school, and then Thursday is Zoom at 7 PM, and the address is on the website, I believe. It should be on there. So it'll be posted as that the board may be there. It might be a quorum, but we will not be taking any action on those two meetings. So, okay. I think we hit everyone. Moving on to the financial report then, since you segued right into that. Financial report for October. That was attached to your agenda. And the finance meeting just met beforehand.
Yeah, the committee met beforehand and didn't see any particular issues, and I guess is recommending that the report be approved if that's what you normally do.
Yep. Does anybody have any questions about the agenda? If you noticed on the agenda, it was broken out, so Fund 40 was taken out because Fund 40 was put to the side. So the Hatchet Pride, because we had some monies from there, and Hatchet Pride, and kind of threw the budget off. That was a request that had came from the Finance Committee. So it looks a little bit different, but all the figures are still there. And the report from the Finance Committee was basically, we're right on where there's no biggie, no big change, right? Any questions on how that report was put together? Motion to approve the budget?
Rude I so move.
Second?
That'd be a motion to approve the finance report?
Yes, Harry. Motion to approve the finance report.
yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Sorry.
Long, I'll second.
Motion made by Rudai, seconded by Long, to approve the finance October report. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Any board referrals? I know that the committee met, so, okay. Then I'm going to move on to item 11, closed session. That we go into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.85, parentheses 1, parentheses C and F. The Board of Education may move into closed session for the purpose of discussion of individual teachers' retirement request, discussion of individual teachers' leave usage and workplace accommodation, and 3, discussion of concerns with a non-licensed employee's job performance. Looking for a motion to go into closed session?
Long, so moved.
A second? Motion made by Long, seconded by Kirsch. Roll call, please.
Long,
Yes.
Kirsch,
Yes.
Kissinger Wolf,
Yes.
Rudak,
Yes.
Baloo,
Yes.
Zimmerman,
Yes.
Hughesby.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Dean.
Did you want principals or?
Do we want principals?
Yeah, at least initially.
Thanks, John, for coming. Yeah. And thanks for your performances, all your work on that.